Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
Certainly better than last night.
Yeah. And it wasn't too bad, There was, for the listeners, there was a power outage and we weren't able to record on a normal night. So we delayed 24 hours.
I realized I didn't. There was one other comment I had meant to send, and it in the follow up this morning, and that was that with the we were talking about generator discussions, things of that nature, and
Yeah.
the the last comment you made about the whole sizing thing and everything, that was kind of where we realized it just wasn't worth it to not go whole home if you're going to do it, unless you have a very concise set of requirements, and generally speaking, the HVAC not being one of them. Um, then again, I mean, there are plenty of things out there you can do with smaller ones as well. Like, I wouldn't say we did that much research. It was just more a matter of if you were going to feed it with either natural gas or propane, a typical dual fuel type generator. That by the time we ran HVAC here and then added the capability for the refrigerator and a couple of outlets, we were already at a size where it wasn't cost effective to not just go ahead and do whole home.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was going to say, like, trying to figure, like, I had to do and a few years ago, I did an exercise with electricity and, it was basically supplying electricity. But it was for DC, for like a camper van. And it was like such a mystery to me. Like, I just felt like, I was like, I know I'm missing something and I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. And I finally came across a video that it clicked for me. It's like, that's the one. That's that. I don't know how many videos I watched about, power sources until I finally came across one who explained it the way I could understand it. And then it clicked for me. But that's only for DC. I expect it's the same for AC, but electricity is an interesting beast, is
Yes.
what I have to say. But yeah, I feel like if you can't run HVAC, then, there's nothing in my life that is so valuable that at that point, it's just I'm looking to be comfortable in the summertime. Because like if it's wintertime and if we lost power for several days, it would be, it'd be uncomfortable for sure. But I'd be able to sleep at night because we have enough things to insulate us, and it doesn't get that cold here.
Right. Yeah. My big thing is I just can't seem to sleep when I get warm, and most of the power outage issues that we've had have been spring and summer, and so a couple hours into the power being out, and I'm uncomfortable with fans going and everything, and it's just it's annoying.
Yeah. I was gonna say, the cabin we stayed in. I say cabin, but in my head, I always feel like it's not okay to say cabin if it's not a log cabin. And I realize the reason it's called a log cabin is because there are other kinds of cabin that are not log cabins. So the cabin we stayed in, it was a lovely place. It was on the side of a mountain in Big Sur, and it was completely off grid. They had most of it. They could get most things going on. They could power most things with the solar they generated. And then they had a propane generator as well, which was for some appliances. And the reason like they had a propane generator for backup is because some days will be overcast and they just won't be able to collect enough solar or generate enough from solar. And I found that really delightful because it's California and it was June. And there was one day it was in the 50s, the highs were in the 50s, and it was just like, it was delightful. Like it was even to the point where it was like, I'm pretty sure I said this, but my son asked if we could have a fire because they had two wood burning fireplaces and they had one downstairs and one upstairs. And I was like, I think we can because I don't think it's going to get any warmer than this. And so we had a fire. If only the whole world could be like that.
No kidding.
But if the whole world was like that, then it would be, we'd take it for granted.
And then there would be this novel thing called, centralized electricity or something. It'd be rebranded.
Yeah, yeah. One day, fusion. We may not live to be that. We may not live long enough to see it become an actuality, but it's not far away.
The experiments have at least been promising.
Yeah, I think they've had experiments where now they're generating more energy than they are putting into it. So, but the same thing, it's like if you ask a nuclear fusion scientist when it'll be commercially available, they'll always say 5 years. They've said it'll be commercially available in 5 years for the past 30 years.
Right.
Which I'm going to throw this in here because it seems fitting, but I had it at the end of the notes, and maybe we'll circle back to it. And I mean circle. What's this? Shoot, circle back is corporate speak, and that's not what I mean. What's the one that comedians do when they reference something earlier in their routine?
A callback? Throwback?
Callback. Thank you.
Okay.
I think it's a call. Is it?
Well, I mean, a callback would be one way of referencing it. I mean, there's so many different ways to phrase it, but a callback would be generally from an entertainment perspective how I would describe it.
Yeah, I just don't like circle back because of corporate. I dislike corporate speak. Anyway, what I was going to say is I had this when I read the article that you posted for a topic, and it made me think of the comment about people assessing where they fit relative to average. It made me think of this idea of people often overestimate what we'll be able to do in 5 years and underestimate what's going to happen in 10 years. I remember hearing this regarding technology, but I think in general, just an advancement in civilization, we overestimate what will happen in 5 years and underestimate what happens in 10 years.
I mean, on the surface, it certainly makes sense, but I think what's interesting about this stuff in general is that on the surface, the potential topic makes sense too, but then it's come to find out we tend to bias a lot of things just based on the way our brains work. Like the maybe a better way to say it is our perception of time is messed up because we don't actually understand it intrinsically.
Oh. You are so not wrong about that because time and space are linked, and we never think of, in our day-to-day lives, we never think about it being linked because for all intents and purposes, we can't see the space that time is linked to.
That could have been an ending statement. That's a wrap right there, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it's been a long time since I've watched it, and I remember things from it, but I was going to say there's an episode of Nova called The Illusion of Time, and it just really goes into the theory of gravity, the theory of relativity, and how it relates to space-time. And those folks over there studying, I guess they would be theoretical physicists. I think when in their studies, time and space are always linked together, and it's kind of far out, just based on how inaccurate our perception of time is.
It's funny. There are a lot of topics that serve really no better purpose for me than to make me feel as idiotic as possible, maybe as a way to think of it. But like we've heard terms about quantum computing and different theories in the realm of like exploratory and I was going to just say exploratory physics is another way of saying theoretical physics. But, all these different nuanced, highly specialized depths of their field I'm going to call them exploratory or theoretical sciences, just because I think that encapsulates everything pretty well. But those areas, the people who study and actually understand a lot of the details there, really just make me feel dumb because I've never taken the time to even try to understand it. I know it's part of it, but part of it's also that there's only so much I can explore and understand and have some retain some level of um, conversational knowledge about, much less actually understanding like the ramifications of what they're discussing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if it's explained, like the I've watched the Illusion of that Nova special that I don't know if it's a special, but it would just be a standard episode. The Illusion of Time. It's hosted. That particular episode is hosted by Brian Greene, and it's one of those things where it's like they present. Maybe they're dumbing it down as much as they can for a mass audience, but it's one of those things where it's like I would never be able to come up with this, but it's presented well enough that I understand everything that you're presenting for me. That doesn't mean that I actually understand what's well. First of all, they don't fully understand what's going on to begin with, and they may be, you know, presenting it in a way for as many as simply as possible. But I've watched it with folks, and they're like, I'm having a hard time getting this, and I just feel like I don't know how I'm getting this.
I don't have a good follow up from that.
No. My follow up to that was going to be, how's your ankle?
It was funny as I was putting together some of the notes. I realized that we haven't recorded, even though we've talked. We haven't recorded since the cast came off,
Mm-hmm.
because that would have been as we record 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
today.
ago, yeah.
And so I was just thinking through like what were the differences between then and now. One, obviously, hard cast came off, and I get to actually shower and rinse off the foot and everything. Uh, no weight still, but uh, one of the things that I found most striking when the cast came off was how vulnerable I felt my foot was all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
Which of course makes sense. You know, it had spent weeks at that point being pretty well protected. Um, but I was pleasantly surprised that I was given the green light to like wiggle things around and move and whatever I could attempt to do with the foot without applying pressure. So like no grabbing and pulling or anything, uh, and no standing or pushing against something like excess pressure against the foot. But the goal is before starting PT, if I can write the alphabet with the foot, then I'll be at a good point to skip the first week or two of what PT normally is. Just kind of, get a head start, more or less. And so I get to work on that, which is nice. And then over the past few days, I've really come to understand one of the comments, which was that the nerves and all in the foot kind of have to reawaken over time, which didn't. It sort of made sense to me, but also didn't make sense to me. But the way it was described was, as the incisions are made and everything, nerve endings or nerves get moved to reach the areas to do the bone work and all. And so they get jumbled, for lack of, better phrasing. And that over time, they kind of realign or reawaken or retrain themselves where what impulses I'm deciphering are more rooted in reality than maybe they are currently. I don't really know the best way to describe it. So if somebody is, in the medical field and has a really good way of how to describe that phenomenon, by all means, send it in. But one of the things that was mentioned was that it can take months for things to feel right, and that prior to that, there will be just odd feelings or tingling or numbness even, just different sensations. And so I had mentioned with in one of our conversations that it felt like there was like layers of a sheet of paper almost, uh, between like what I could actually feel and thinking maybe it was like the layers of dead skin that needed to come off, because it had been wrapped up and everything. And it wasn't actually. What I was feeling was that section of my foot just not having the same feeling that it would normally have because of this uh, jumbling of or deadening of sensations that's somewhat temporary. And then I didn't really piece it together until after a large amount of that dead skin that needed to come off did come off, and there was still some oddity to how that section of my foot felt. And then over the past few days, as sensations have changed with different things, it's finally kind of become clear, maybe for lack of better phrasing, that it's just the changes in sensation from the nerves being jumbled or whatever. Excuse me. And so that will continue to change over time. And then with all of the flexion and moving everything around, I think I can feel uh, like the way the foot feels different from the introduction of the at least one, if not both, of the titanium wedges and the um, kind of realignment of the bone. Um, it's not that I feel anything overly strange. It's just that there's a definitive difference in how things feel that's not the masking of feeling from the nerve stuff. And I don't know of a better way to describe that. But yeah, progress.
Is the titanium hardware that's in there, is that permanent?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure if I have any questions about it.
I think I covered everything that I've noticed over the past couple of days. As we record, there's still 4 more weeks of non-weight bearing shenanigans to go.
So you're 2/3 of the way through.
Yep.
Of the non-weight bearing portion. That's good. That's good.
Technically, Friday marks 9 weeks post surgery, but the
excellent.
timing of the follow-up appointment is 4 weeks from today. So it'll end up being closer to 12 3/4 weeks. But
yeah,
at that point, what's another few days?
When do you start physical therapy? After that?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you can do, basically you can do any wiggling of the toes and flexion of the ankle that you can do, that those muscles that control those pieces on their own, just no assistance.
Right. Basically, don't reach down and grab my toes and pull.
Oh, that hurts me when you say that. Even though I can do it right now I'm doing it right now to myself and everything's fine. Just the idea of I don't know, is empathy the correct word, where I can think of how invasive that surgery was and how long your ankle has been stationary in a cast, and it brings shivers to my mind when you said that, or I had shivers come through my body as you said that.
Yeah, so it is interesting to think about, with everything that was done. There are technically 2 stages of recovery. There's the tendon recovery, and then there's the bone recovery. Technically, we're at the point where enough time has passed, the tendon work has healed. So the flexion stuff and all is to help regain some mobility and strength right around that area. But what I have to be careful of is not to do something that would hamper the remaining healing of the bone work, which is the concern about grabbing and applying too much pressure, because of the all of that. Just you don't want to accidentally shift that.
Right.
And I don't think, based on the conversations, I don't think it's that huge a concern, because I know even as we, or maybe, I don't think it was in the show actually, but at some point I conveyed that the doctor did tell me, like, technically, from the last visit, I could kick a door. It just would hurt really, really, really bad. And I would probably be okay. And again, emphasis on probably. And of course, she also said, but I absolutely would not recommend doing it.
Right. You don't want to find out. That's
Yeah,
not a thing that's a thing that could be left to mystery for the rest of forever.
right.
I got to imagine that even though the tendons have healed, that there's still is there's not necessarily stiffness, but they're not. I don't imagine they're as mobile and elastic as they were since, or because they haven't been in use.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Her comment was, they are currently as tight as they will ever be.
Oh, apparently, if you do that in your throwing arm, um, as a young teenager, you could end up as a pitcher on a major league baseball team. I saw a documentary about that.
Interesting.
If you give me a moment. Give me a moment. I can actually tell you what that documentary is called. But yeah. Well, I'm glad. I mean, it sounds like healing is good. It's been. Has it been? It's been. Oh, Friday will be 9 weeks since the surgery.
Right.
Wow, do you feel like that time has gone on quickly or slowly or what?
It's changed at different points. So the first couple of weeks felt like time was going pretty quick. Once the hard cast was put on, after it may not have even been a full week, probably after 3 or 4 days, it was like everything was just all of a sudden taking forever. And then once the hard cast came off, so 2 weeks ago, like the past 2 weeks have felt more, not necessarily fast, but not as just really drudgingly slow as things were. And I think it's because there was finally a, a moment where something changed enough to give me something else to focus on. Because while everything is mobilized, I can't really focus on anything other than just not getting it wet. Um, Whereas now, I like in the evenings, I can take the air cast boot off, and I'd sit there and move it around, and just try to scrunch my toes and see how things feel from day to day. And like there's some activity with it that makes it feel more like we're making progress. And so that kind of early to middle portion of the time frame just felt like it took forever to get through.
Yeah, yeah.
And I fully anticipated that going into it.
It doesn't make it easy. Well, maybe it made it a little bit easier, but it's still not fun.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be the difficult part of it. Like right now, the difficult part is not like I've now invested so much time in recovery. The difficult part is not being stupid and saying, I wonder what it feels like if I put a little more weight on the foot.
Yeah.
Because like over the past week, I've been slightly less overly cautious with letting the foot just rest on the floor. Like even up until a couple of days ago, I would let the foot rest on the floor, but I was still kind of keeping most of the weight off, like activating the muscles in the upper part of the leg to keep some of that weight off. And then over the past couple of days, it's like if I'm sitting in a chair like I am now, I've been working out of my office this week actually.
Nice.
And so sitting at the desk, I'm just letting the natural weight of the leg rest on the floor the way it normally does. And I mean, you don't think about that as being pressure. Like that's not in the spirit of non-weight bearing. Even back 4 or 5 weeks ago, whenever the hard cast was put on, I had specifically asked, like, I know we say non-weight bearing, and I'm not disputing that, but like if I'm standing and I just want to rest my foot on the floor, is that okay? Or do I need to just always keep it up at all times, kind of thing? And so I got clarity about, yeah, you can rest it on the floor. The key thing is just not to shift weight onto it. And so I've been far more babying of what it means to be weight bearing or non weight bearing than I have over the past few days. And so, uh, and most of that is because I didn't want to just do something stupid. But part of it too is because that way I knew in my head I wouldn't put more weight than I meant to into that leg. And then over the past few days, it's been all right. Well, whatever amount of force gravity pulls down, as long as I am sitting, I know is okay. And so I'm going to quit being overly protective of it and just see how things feel.
Good. That's good. That's a good report.
Yeah. The only drawback to that is that now it's like, okay, well, if I lean forward a little bit, like what's that?
Oh yeah.
And so I'm not letting myself do it. I don't need to play with fire.
No.
But it's that it makes the next few weeks feel like it's probably not as bad.
Good.
It also helps that I've been working out of the office again this week so that I'm actually, not just sitting in the living room all the time is what it felt like prior, even though it wasn't quite that drastic. But the change in scenery to actually be in my workspace again has helped. Actually going out and about with some of the business networking stuff has helped. So, yeah, it's been more of a return to normalcy, even if I have to hobble slow.
Oh God, do you remember 5 years ago? 5 years ago, less 10 days, we were starting to talk about the new normal.
Yeah.
Whew. I won't dwell on that too long. I was going to ask you one more question about your ankle, and that is, what have you come to find to be your preferred mode of transport?
Now that I'm not in that hard cast, the knee crutch is by far, it's what I use all the time.
The peg leg?
Yep.
Nice.
So it's what's beside me now because it's easier. If I already have to take the time to strap on the air cast, when I get up, it's only a couple of seconds longer to strap on this knee crutch. And so it makes more sense just to do it all as one thing. And then it's certainly easier to get in and out of the vehicle. The height difference of the knee crutch versus regular crutches. The knee crutch is more maneuverable because it's shorter. And so it's easier to kind of turn and get up in the seat and then just pull it up and set it in the passenger seat floorboard.
Well, I guess there's no transition for this. I kind of want to, the next bullet point in our list, I kind of want to put that one. Did you want to go next on that one, or
no?
It
can go whenever. I don't know that there's a lot to do either. I just wanted to report it since it was new, and I have an additional thing that goes in with it. So,
see, I feel like I might have some questions about it, and I wanted to save some space for that. And so I do have like legitimate follow up for well, I guess ankle is ongoing follow up, and so that's totally legitimate. But I was going to say, I had something that I mentioned in the last episode. I said I would look it up, and I did look it up, and so I'm actually following through with looking it up. And that is, I was quoting, or I guess I paraphrased a quote from an Iranian graphic novelist whose name is Marjane Satrapi. If I may have mispronounced that, apologies. But she said, "The world is divided between East and West. You are American, I am Iranian. We don't know each other, but we talk and we understand each other perfectly. The difference between you and your government is much bigger than the difference between you and me. And the difference between me and my government is much bigger than the difference between me and you. And our governments are very much the same." I have, when I first came across that quote, I really liked it. And I've never actually fact checked to see if that's how she exactly she said it, and I'm not sure that it matters to me. I'm gonna give her credit for it because I think it's a really lovely quote.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's I'm seeing what's making me happy, at least in my current echo chamber. I'm seeing more and more voices with platforms say these sorts of things. Talking about it's not left, right. It's not conservative, liberal. It's not. Those are not the actual opponents in the world right now. We're being duped into thinking that we're opponents by the billionaires and the corporate oligarchy. That's actually what's happening. We've talked about this at length. We don't have to continue. I just wanted to make sure I got that quote in because I said I would.
It's kind of like the bourgeoisie.
Yes.
And you could take it to pretty much any other societal class structure in history if you really want to as well.
I think the bourgeoisie is a fantastic.
It took me a moment to remember my pronunciation. Like I could see the word in my head, and I had to think back to my French days. Where exactly was the emphasis?
Bourgeoisie. What I find amusing to me, I think that if you're a person who's defined yourself as or have used the term bougie, you're probably not the bourgeoisie.
Probably not.
The other thing this other point, it's not follow up at all, but it would be a micro topic. It's not even a micro topic. It's a thing that I wanted to share that amused me. I have over the past actually at this point almost 2 decades I had these 2 fantastic jokes that absolutely nobody understood because they were not right. But I have to, if I give the context of what I was thinking, you'll understand, oh, that's a great joke, but nobody understood it because, John, you misunderstood what was happening in the world. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. So the first one had to do with Katy Perry. And this would have been circa 2007, 2008. I want to say 2008, maybe early 2008, maybe the summer of 2008, when during the what is it when it was leading up to the 2008 election prior to either party nominating a candidate. And on the Republican side, or within the Republican Party, Rick Perry was one of the potential candidates for running for president on the Republican ticket. And at the same time, Katy Perry, the singer, was popular. And I kept hearing Katy Perry, Rick Perry here and there. I wasn't paying attention. And somehow in my head, I put together that Katy Perry was Rick Perry's daughter, and she landed herself into some sort of, not so much trouble, but something that would be a mark on Rick Perry's validity for candidacy for president of the United States. Because in my head, I was thinking Katy Perry was Rick Perry's daughter, and she was causing trouble kind of like maybe a year or 2 earlier. One of George W. Bush's daughters had done something that was, I think she was smoking pot or something like that, and it became public, and that was just like, oh, that's not a good look for you, President of the United States. And that, in my head, was how I knew Katy Perry until years later I found out she was a singer.
It's funny.
It's not actually a joke. The second one is a joke. That one's not a joke. That was just that's what I thought was going on, because even in my 20s, I wasn't paying attention to what was popular.
But it does, it kind of writes itself into a joke if you think about, she is the one who did I Kissed a Girl, right?
Sounds like it could be the thing.
Maybe.
I just know something about fireworks.
Yeah, no clue. Katy Perry, while I know who she is, she's not someone that not an artist that I seek out work. So
I just know that she made Elmo popular for adult men.
Fair enough.
Do you know? I'm not sure.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
She went on SNL with an Elmo T-shirt, and there was a lot of cleavage, and so it was. I think that was what the joke was.
Gotcha.
Were you going to say something else?
No, I think that's. Obviously, I don't know enough about her either to really continue down that.
There wasn't really anything else to go, and real-time follow-up, she did sing the song "I Kiss a Girl," and maybe Maybe that was somehow in my head. I don't recall that part.
Well, like in my head, the joke would be I kissed a girl being problematic for a Republican candidate, right?
For sure.
So like that's where I went with it. But
The other one actually is a joke that I did go around making, and I'm like, why is nobody getting this joke? This is a fantastic joke, and it has to do with Lady Gaga, and so I actually thought this movie came out earlier, and now I don't even remember who my audience was, because the movie A Star Is Born, Lady Gaga acted in a movie A Star Is Born, and I don't know where I got it. I just assumed, I didn't get it from anywhere. I just assumed that this movie, A Star Is Born, was an autobiographical movie about Lady Gaga. It is not. I haven't seen the movie, but I have been assured that it is not an autobiographical movie. It is a complete work of fiction where she is a singer and sings really well. But you can being somebody that's out of touch with pop culture, you can understand why maybe I just assumed that it was an autobiographical movie. And so I kept making this.
It certainly makes sense. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's not out of nowhere, but it's totally out of nowhere. It's just not illogical.
It does not require a leap to get there.
Right. So because I made that up, I decided it would be funny to say, what if the end of the movie, like right before credits roll, it's leading up to her making the movie. And I kept making that joke. And people were just like, they didn't even say like, I don't get it. They just like didn't laugh. And people who had seen the movie didn't laugh, and they just kind of looked at me like I was weird. And nobody ever corrected me. And I stopped making the joke because nobody thought it was funny. And I just thought people were just like, your sense of humor is like really off. And that's a great joke. And I remember telling Becca about this joke that nobody got. And she's like, that movie is not autobiographical. And I'm like, that makes sense. But if it was autobiographical, that'd be a great joke. And she said, yeah, that would be a good joke if it were autobiographical.
I think I've never seen the movie either. I think the only reason I didn't make that assumption, though, is because I saw the movie poster or cover or something where...
Oh, I did too.
So for me, looking at it, what I knew of Lady Gaga, it didn't mesh in my head at all. Because prior to actually knowing much of anything about her, and I still wouldn't say I know a lot, but she is one that I at least kind of know some of her work. But prior to knowing much of anything about her, I just kept picturing the meat outfit or whatever that she had made waves for. And I couldn't reconcile that with the cover for the movie.
I can see that. I know Lady Gaga. I think I'm more familiar. Well, I wouldn't say I'm more familiar with her acting because I haven't seen that movie. I've only seen, she's in a couple of seasons of American Horror Story, and she's a lead. She has a lead role in season 5 of American Horror Story, and it's excellent. But that season it had a really slow burn at the beginning, but then it's like it's like a roller coaster in the sense that you're going up slowly, and then you have a precipitous drop, and it just sucks you in pretty well, like by the 4th or 5th episode out of 10. And she was excellent. I mean, she was excellent in that season of American Horror Story. And then she's in the 6th season, which is after that, and it's a very small part. Like, I don't even think she has any speaking parts. I don't think she has, if I recall correctly, not a line of dialogue. So, but Kathy Bates is amazing in that episode or that season. But it's a fairly unliked season, so I liked it. I was gonna say that I know her for that, and I know her for the her Super Bowl halftime performance, which I loved. I think that was 2017. So right after Trump was inaugurated, if I'm not mistaken. She had felt like it was her performance of "This Land Is Your Land" was well timed.
I remember that.
Yeah. I didn't watch anything that had to do with the Super Bowl this year, but I heard that probably most of what would have outraged certain people from Kendrick Lamar's performance probably went over their head.
Yeah, I gathered that as well.
But it led for a fantastic joke by Conan O'Brien last weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. So, listeners, if you're not familiar with any of this, there is the internet. I felt like there was something else I was going to say about Lady. I know her really popular songs, but I don't know if I know all of her popular songs. So.
Yeah, it's probably about the same level of familiarity. Maybe a little less. Maybe I know a little bit more, just because of learning more about what A Star Is Born is about. Because I was semi-interested after Walk the Line, because Walk the Line was a really good.
I love Walk the Line
movie, and I still need to watch A Star Is Born. I just haven't. It's not that I was turned off of it for any specific reason. It's just when I learned it was purely fictional, it's like, okay, well, let's just add it to the list, as opposed to, is this somebody I wanted to know more about, kind of thing.
Right. So had it been a biopic, you might have watched it.
Maybe, depending on who it was about.
Oh, I mean, if it was I see. Yeah, good point.
Like, go back to Walk the Line. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm a huge Johnny Cash fan, but I do appreciate Johnny Cash in general and what his impact on country music as a whole. And there are some things from him that I do really, really like. And so having that be about him made it a more appealing draw to watch than just something completely fictional. That's what I'm basically saying.
Yeah. So Johnny Cash was my gateway to realizing that I don't dislike country music.
Nice.
Because like prior to that, everything I heard from country, it was not. I was like, I don't like this, but also, I didn't hear all the good country music. You were my introduction to Garth Brooks. Other than a Saturday Night Live skit that he did with Will Ferrell, selling his soul to the devil.
I completely forgot about that skit.
Yeah, so good. It's so good. I kept wondering, is that his real hair? Did he have hair that long?
I don't think so, but I honestly don't know. Because if I remember correctly, there was an article talking about the. I assume you've seen the Chris Gaines album artwork as well. That
No.
So he created an alternate persona that he released a single
Yes,
under.
you told me that.
And if I remember correctly, that was his real hair, and it wasn't overly long. I mean, it was certainly longer than what you would attribute to him from everything else. But I don't. So all that to say, I don't actually know for sure.
No, I think in that sketch, I think he had like a ponytail down.
Yeah, it was significantly longer in the sketch than anything that he ever showed anywhere else.
Yeah, the end of it was closer to his waist than it was his shoulders.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever had hair that long. The Chris Gaines stuff was, if you think about like shaggy boy hair length, that would be more how I'd attribute it. It was just kind of like gelled down instead of being just shaggy.
I'm looking at I was gonna say I'm looking at the cover of Chris Gaines' Greatest Hits, and is that really Garth?
Yes.
Wow, he looks okay. Now there's a Chris Gaines podcast cover art that I'm seeing in overview on Google, and it shows pictures of him with the soul patch next to pictures of him with it, like the way Garth Brooks looks, like with the cowboy hat, and next to the picture of him, and like the Chris Gaines look, he looks like Chris Angel a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, that's uh, what's what genre is Chris Gaines? Is it also country or something
No,
different?
it was so it was I would classify it as just general rock. It was
Okay,
his desire to basically do something different in a different genre without tarnishing his established persona and brand.
for sure. That makes total sense. And I don't know why Bon Jovi couldn't have done that.
You know, it's Bon Jovi is one of those that I think is really interesting because I don't know why would he, you know? Like if you if you take
Wait,
everything
why
he's
would
done now, well, if you
like
take
what?
everything he's done now, it doesn't
Okay,
matter, right? Like Bon Jovi could be rock, could be country, could be any number of things. Like his body of work is what it is, but like more to the point of what you were saying, he could have very well done something similar instead of just expanding what he was known for.
yeah, it was just very confusing for me to hear him. Uh, all I knew Bon Jovi for was like hair band in the eighties hair band, and then I heard that he did a country album, and that was confusing for me.
I understand
Yeah, I'm making this into a bigger thing than it actually is. But um,
it's like Trent
so I
Reznor.
was
If Trent
going.
Reznor was to suddenly do a country album, you'd be scratching your head.
Hey, now we're here's a callback, and that is that the thing that got me listening to Johnny Cash was his cover of "Hurt."
Nice.
Yeah, and then I was like, this was like that song was amazing to me, and uh, I think it's better than the original. Uh, Apologies to Resner if he listens to the show. And from there, I decided I was like, I want to hear more Johnny Cash, and so I got listened to a best of album, and I really like that, and that just opened my mind up to there's a kind of country music that I like, and from that I found out I think there's some Trisha Yearwood songs that I like that I saw in a movie, and you sent me some Garth Brooks songs and some other country music that I was like, I like this, and so yeah, so it has opened it has opened up a new genre of music for me. But I've also told like there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't like, and when people play it for me, they're like, "Do you like this?" And I was like, "I don't." And I kind of like I'll say I don't like it if I'm asked, but if I'm not asked, I'm not going to offer that because I had spent too much of my youth saying this is this is shit or whatever, and I was like, it's not shit. It's just not for me. And I've told people it's like what for whatever music that I don't like, and I don't want to limit it to country music because there's other music that I don't like. It's not a lot, but some, and it is that I tell people it's like go listen to Custer by Slipknot, and how that sounds to you is probably how this sounds to me.
That's a good comparison.
Thank you, because I really like that song, and I know it is not for most people.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm having such trouble clearing my throat this evening. Um, Slipknot's never been big for me, but on the flip side of it, though, I do love like Stained and Seether, and a lot of people would lump Slipknot into the same general category. So it's like to me, there's a very distinct difference. But I know a lot of people when you're talking about groups from different genres, those will tend to often be mentioned in similar circles.
Well, I think I'm not sure if the term screamo is an actual subgenre of some sort of metal, but that's the term I hear people who don't like that kind of music say label all of that kind of music. And there's even a place where you could say that I think alternative is maybe a more a, a better subgenre of music. That one, that's too loaded. I'm not gonna say. Grunge is a subgenre of music that really had. I'm not sure if it had more to do with the time, but it was just like you can say these years were the grunge sound, and I really don't hear the grunge sound anymore outside of those years, even from those bands that were making music that we call grunge, that are still together and making music. What they're putting out now wouldn't be classified as grunge. And I think Slipknot is a similar sort of band in that at one point they were you would classify some of their music as new metal, like Korn and Limp Bizkit, and I don't know if Stained was put in. Anyway, and that's how I got to hear them. And I would say I haven't heard that many Slipknot songs, and mostly because I know that I don't think I'll appreciate them. But that one particular song I really, really like, and I'm not even sure that it would fit into the new metal category anymore either. So it's kind of post new metal.
Music in general can always be such a fascinating discussion on the nuances between not even one artist and another artist, but the same artist over the course of their career.
Yeah.
One quick something that there's certainly no transition to or from at all, but it was an interesting thing when I was typing up the notes. All the notes were done on the phone, and you notice that the one article actually looks like the way it normally works off the Mac. You can actually press and hold on something and add a link now in iOS.
Nice.
I have no clue when that got added, but I discovered it today.
Excellent. I also discovered recently something. I feel like in the indent, you used to be able to slide right to indent on iOS, and now it shows collaboration. So maybe if it's a non-collaborative note, you can still slide right to indent, but I don't think there was always the indent feature in the formatting bar, but it is there now. The add link, I feel like it's been there certainly before 18.3, but I don't know how long it's been there. But I do know that it was there prior. I feel like I could be misremembering, but I thought I knew it was there prior to reading your note. But yes, I did see that, and yay.
Yeah, and for me, it was just kind of a surprise because I don't remember the last time I tried. At some point, and I know we talked about it, at some point I had given up on doing links the way I want to do them when I was making notes on the phone. I would just always come back and clean it up on the Mac.
That's what I did for a long time as well.
And when I copied and pasted the headline in, it was bolded, and I knew I could change that. And I noticed when I pressed and held, there was no longer just the like bold, italic, strike through options or whatever, that you had to actually go to format first. And so the press and hold action and pop-ups and all have been tweaked since the last time I messed with them. That's what it comes down to. But it's probably been 2 or 3 versions.
Yeah, I'm sure there are release notes out there. Well, I would hope that there are release notes out there that document this.
Maybe. This feels an awful lot like something that they just wouldn't tell you.
Yeah. I haven't ever looked to see. I'd take that back. It's been a long, long time since I've gone to read the release notes of a particular update. And the last time I looked, it was not a comprehensive document. So, yeah. At this point, you could probably ask Chatty G to pinpoint exactly when it was.
Yeah, maybe. But that assumes that it was ever documented.
Assuming that it was documented, yeah. So, tell me about your new storage solution.
I don't remember. I guess it was last week. Maybe it might have been after we recorded the week before. I've been looking around and trying to figure out what I wanted to do for storage for a while. And I happened across the Snazzy Labs video that he did about the UNAS Pro.
I saw it.
And after watching it, it kind of put the thought in my head that that's really what I'm looking for. I like my Synology. I have no problems with it. But it's overkill on the operating system and other feature set stuff than what I needed. And on the flip side of it, cost of putting together a full server storage array thing where it's just running, for all intents and purposes, a storage area network was overkill. It was just too cost prohibitive and expensive for what I needed, and didn't give me anything that it gave me far more capabilities than I would ever leverage, put it that way. And so when I watched his video, I started thinking more about it, and I went back and looked, because the first time it was announced, I wrote it off pretty quick because it sold out quick. And this is an ongoing thing with Ubiquiti gear in general. It's just the ability to get new items often is frustrating. And so when they first release things, I'm aware of it, but I don't really go look that close, because more than likely it's already sold out anyway. And I would rather kind of let it trickle out and get some real world feedback about it, and then make a decision if it's something I want to upgrade or change or add or whatever. And so I kind of followed that trend with this too. After that video, started looking at it a little more and realized that it ticked every box I needed because all I was looking for was convenient and reliable network attached storage. Just if you think about it from the standpoint of displays, like TVs, I didn't want a smart TV. I wanted a dumb TV. And in this case, I didn't want a smart network attached storage device. I just wanted a dumb network attached storage device. I just needed a data pool. And it's not that explicitly dumb, but it is very much purpose built to be what it is. And so after I looked at it, I decided I'd go ahead and order one. And it came in 2 or 3 days ago. Hard drives came in yesterday, I think. And so this morning I temporarily set it up because I've got to figure out whether I want to risk getting up on a stepladder and all with the peg leg and take everything out of the existing rack and move things around and all, and then do all that, or if I want to wait until I have proper use of my left foot again.
I'm going to say you want to wait.
Probably, because I don't want to fall. I don't want to accidentally drop something. There's enough going on there that I think it'd be dumb to try to do it. But at the same time, I've made dumber decisions. So we'll see what I end up deciding over the next few weeks. But the fact that I have it hooked up and running in a temporary setup now, without it being with it being up off the floor at least, because that was my big thing. I just didn't want it sitting on the floor of the garage. So with it at least being in a usable, stable state, it's not as big a concern to try to do something with now as opposed to what it would be if it were still sitting in the box, and I wouldn't want it to just be sitting in the box for 4 weeks.
Yeah, definitely not in the box. So if it's safe, I would say you're a grown adult and you can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, so I've got this leads into my comment about there's a little more with it as well. As we started out the episode, I went ahead and ordered a different wall mount rack as well. So the one that I had put up,
I was going to ask.
Well, the one that I had put up, I wasn't happy with. I shouldn't say that. It's fine. It's just I have a couple of issues that I don't like, Which
one do you have now? What is up now?
What's up now is just a standard 12U wall mount rack with a mesh door. I don't really know of a better way to describe it. So it has removable side panels, just like you would expect, and then the mesh closed door. I find I prefer the glass door and the fan in the top, which you'll recognize as being the same as...
Yes.
Yeah. And on top of that, the one that I have currently on the wall is off alignment just enough that the door is difficult. I had to do some bending of metal to get the latch to close properly and all. And I didn't like the fact that I had to do all that. And so basically the same, it's an updated version of the same wall rack that you have, that you got from me. That will be here Friday. And when I do this, I'm going to pull everything out because I have to pull everything out anyway. The way I spaced things and put things in there, I did not leave room for a 2U NAS to be slotted into place. And so I already have to pull everything out and move things around. And if I'm going to do that, I decided, you know what, let me put a rack that I like the quality of on the wall, take this one down. This rack can be available for use elsewhere in the house for something else, or I can sell it later depending on whatever I want to do. But either way, put the styled rack that I like up on the wall down there, put everything in it, and rearrange things so that the NAS will fit as well.
Cool, cool. Do you diagram these things?
I don't. I've considered it, but the difficulty with it is that almost nobody makes stencils for the different devices typically that I have, or not everything is accounted for, and I don't want to create my own anymore. So I've considered doing just like block diagrams instead of fully diagramming it out the way I normally would. But then if I do that, it's just not the same. And so if I'm not going to do the full thing, I'd rather just not do it.
I was going to say, because I currently don't have any software that works for this. I have done block diagrams, just because I've been planning on how I'm going to fill up my 12U cabinet. And so I was when you were talking about the mesh door, I was like, "Ooh, that sounds pretty nice." But now that you're saying, I prefer the glass with the fan, I was like, "Okay, well."
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just for the environment that it's in, I prefer it having a little more protection than the mesh door.
I wanted to ask you, how is the UNAS Pro different from the Network Video Recorder Pro, or is it?
I haven't looked.
Visually, they look the same.
I haven't looked at the NVR Pro. I know the NVR specifically is purpose-built for the Protect application. So my guess, without looking at it, would just be that it doesn't have the Drive application, but it might be dual purpose.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the exact same hardware with different software or firmware. I don't know. Does it run? Is what's on there considered software, or is it all firmware?
It'd be software as well. So,
okay.
I don't. When they made the change to the current application suite, so I'm going to use the Dream Machine Pro as my reference point. Used to, with the just basic UniFi network line, when it first came out, you had to run controller software on a laptop. And then eventually Ubiquiti released a cloud key that you could have plugged into a PoE port, and it would run this controller software off of this dongle instead of having to be a separate computer. And eventually that evolved to the app just running on this device. You could still run it off of a computer if you wanted, but it's also built into the console. So the Dream Machine can run the network app, which is this controller software. It can also, though, run the Protect app, which is the one for all the cameras to connect to for viewing and recording. Can also run the Access app, I think is what it is, for like the door lock control systems. The voice app for the phone systems. I don't even remember. There are a couple others. So the different product lines that Ubiquiti offers have a corresponding app to control them. So like the UNAS has a quote-unquote Drive app for configuration and everything that runs on the UNAS that you access for configuration and everything. When you add it into an environment, you can link the UNAS to a UDM. So instead of having to go to the two different devices, the UDM is not actually controlling the drive stuff, but you can see it present in the same like centralized login to the apps themselves. And so it would be a layer of firmware for the like control plane or backplane and everything, and then these purpose-built apps for each component's configuration and control on a layer on top of that. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a lot easier to show, to be fair.
I mostly follow that, but I'm also networking is similar to electricity for me, or at least what I've delved in regarding electricity. I certainly don't know that much about electricity and electrical system, but enough to do some things. Maybe not to maybe I'm laughing because I'm going to say probably above average understanding of electricity. But I honestly think that I am above average in electricity, but not that much. Simply because I know most people don't understand as much as I do about electricity. That's all I'm saying. So, but I have a relatively small sample size. But networking is the same way for me. I haven't done enough, and I haven't found the resource where I've broken through the barrier that I'm currently behind.
That makes sense.
There's another device I know that Ubiquiti makes a device that has a single hard drive and also I think 8 access ports and some uplink ports, but I can't find the device. I see it on their website, but I can't find the actual.
It's the
device.
Dream Machine.
Okay. Is that in? I don't know what section that's in.
You mean if you're looking at the like UI.com at their website?
Yeah.
They've changed it a little bit. Cloud gateways would be where you would start. So if you think about perimeter device, that's what the Dream Machine is. So it'd be router / firewall, or in their parlance, the gateway for the deployment. So you have your small scale stuff up to enterprise scale stuff as far as your gateway device, and you build inward from there.
It kind of looks like it does a little bit of everything.
Sort of. Well, I mean, yes and no. It's the brains of your deployment, assuming that you need it to be. But I don't know enough about some of their deployment models to know if you could put it together without one, or what your limitations are. But typically speaking, you would start with one of these as the core unit for what you're going to do at a location.
Right, because it's a firewall. I guess, is it a firewall with a number of features built on top of it, or?
I mean, more or less, in the same sense that I would probably classify it more as a router with features built on top of it than a firewall with features built on top of it. Just because if you think about like specialized firewall devices, there's more complex logic that you could handle there than what you could do with the Dream Machine.
And see, that's beyond my understanding.
Yeah, it's kind of a semantic argument because it does all the basic features of firewalling as well, and they are. It's been fascinating to watch the UniFi line go from the original inception and implementation to where it is today, because it does so much more now than it did at first. And it was a compelling enough use case at first for what it did if you didn't need a lot of the more nuanced and specialized functions that you would need with certain other firewalls. So sometimes it's difficult to know which way you would classify it depending on what your use case is.
I'm pretty sure I'm underwater here.
No
Well, like
worries.
I said, I need to find. It's like I need to find the thing that gets me where I want to go. So I've just I have other projects that I've prioritized. So, but it'll come.
Used to, I would say there was a Linux distribution that you could download and run as a home user that was phenomenal. That you figuring it out because it walked you through graphically a lot of these. Well, it was essentially taking a proprietary wrapper and putting it around open source tools. That's what it really was. However, it is no longer in existence. It was purchased and absorbed by Sophos, and what they turned it into is absolute garbage.
That's what corporations do.
Yep.
Sometimes, well, not always, but most. I feel
And to
much
be
of the
fair, the reason I call it garbage is because they took that design language away and put their own design language around the interface, which I didn't like their design language in the first place, which is part of why I generally despise having to deal with and configure Sophos tools. And so there was, pre-existing bias to dislike it.
Well, I mean, things can be objectively bad. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember if I've done anything with Sophos.
Overall,
'Cause
they're actually
it sounds
not
familiar.
they're not horrible. It's just it's not the way I want it to work. Whereas the Ubiquity stuff works the way I want it to work. Fortinet, to a large degree, works the way I want it to work. So I would put it on par as a similar approachability with regard to how you work with the interface, as opposed to like Cisco being as obtuse as possible.
Well, I was going to say most of what I know is the 5 things that I have to do for work in the Cisco environment, which is very little, and they make sense to me because it's these 5. I say 5 things. I don't know actually how many it is, but it's not that many, and beyond that, I'm just like, I don't know. You'll have to. The phrase I use is I defer to our network resource. So,
yeah, at some point, I probably should just show you the home deployment because
I've thought about that because I want to learn it, and I've got stuff. I've actually I have some Cisco devices, some older Cisco devices that were free, and I took them, and I've been using ChatGPT to help me design, to help me build configurations for what I want to do, and it's actually been pretty helpful. At least it seems that way. I haven't actually programmed anything and done anything with it yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame now, leveraging AI to help with the configuration stuff.
Oh, you're not wrong. It's so one of the things that I find fantastic is I'll come across a command that I saved at some point and I didn't document. Like I said, this is what it does, but I didn't really document it, how it's doing that well. Or I'll come across something new and I'll drop the command into ChatGPT and say, will you explain this command? Explain to me what this command does and what each of the arguments are. And that I've learned more CLI doing that than anything else that I've come across in a fast and concise way. ChatGPT is fantastic for learning commands. We have a number of different ways set up for you to get in touch with us to provide feedback, ask questions, or just comment in about something we've discussed.
You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at untitled_hosts, or shoot an email over to untitled.hosts@gmail.com.
Or get in touch directly with Jesse at jthart.com, or get in touch with me, John, via telepathy.
If you would like to support our work or are interested in listening to our new after show feed, head over to patreon.com/theUntitledPodcast and take a look at the options we have set up.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you've enjoyed the show.
And we hope to connect with more of you as we continue this journey.
That's a wrap.